Welcome to Take Center Stage. My name is Marissa Bloedoorn. You are in the As Featured in Own It magazine, The Author's Corner. Today I have with me, taking center stage and owning it, is CEO and editor-in-chief of Off the Bench magazine, Mark Wiggins. We're here to talk about the King's Conversations. This is a new project that he's working on, an anthology of men and King conversations. So taking center stage and owning it with me this morning is Mr. Mark Wiggins. Yo, 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 my brother.
What it do? What it do? What it do? Good morning. How are you? Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good, good, good. Just getting ready. It's that time of the year where things start wrapping up, and I'm looking forward to all of that, especially your project, which is so important. And my heartbeat is behind our men rising up and them taking center stage and owning it themselves. And King Conversations is one of those things that will motivate, drive, and gather the men together to have the serious conversations that are needed. And so, as we have spoken before, and I know, but I want the audience to know, share a little bit about yourself and this new project that you're working on.
Oh, absolutely. Again, thank you for having. I am Mark Wiggins, editor in chief of Off the Bench magazine, podcaster, motivational speaker, speaker coach, trainer, and all around OG. I've been at this for a long time, as far as speaking is concerned, and talking to a lot of different people on a lot of different platforms lately, and what has come out was this opportunity to start having conversation with men about what men need to be talking about, and it actually became real relevant during pandemic. Right soon after I started working with Marissa and working on the magazine, my son was here for a long, long time. He came home for spring break and didn't leave. But as God would have it, it was like the best, most needed time we could have had as transitional positions were taking place, heading off to med school and just trying to pour into him. And we would often find ourselves just sitting around talking and out on the deck, smoking a cigar, sipping on something. And I'm talking to my young king. I'm talking to my young king about stuff he needs to know what's about to be next. I'm hearing from his heart. I'm hearing about his confidence issues. I'm hearing about his worries. Now, he's never really shared all that before. And I began to realize that these are conversations that men don't have either. Grown men. We don't talk about our feelings. We don't talk about our concerns, our successes, our failures, our rebounds, any of those things. So I began to have this King conversation and began to take it to the platform. So all of a sudden, once a month, on the last Wednesday of every month, I bring on someone or go solo and talk about issues that are important to men. And women are not allowed. They can listen, they can watch, take notes. Hopefully that helps them, but they don't get to come on. Somebody asking, "Hey, come on inside." Nope, sis, you cannot. You can come on Thursday, but you can't come on Wednesday. And that's how that got started. And over time, as things would have it, I was like, I need to put together a project where if a single mom needed something to give to her young son, and what would that say? What would that look like? And I was like, what about all these dudes I talk to, all these positive men I'm around? Give me something to say to this book, to give to someone to read and go, here's 38, 49, 52 Black positive messages from Black kings on different topics for you to read. Nothing long. You know what I'm saying? Men don't read a lot long, but something that would be that you could pass along. And that's how the King Conversations anthology has come about. And that's where we are now, looking for great men's stories and topics. Things like, who taught you about that thing you do and why you do it? Like that moment, that off the bench moment, if you will. I clearly remember a conversation with my dad. It was actually an action. We built a deck off the back of a house when I was a kid, and I hated it. Marissa, it was the worst 3-4 days of my life. But I began to look back over that thing, and it was a whole 3-day boot camp tutorial on the fundamentals of strong foundation, of taking your time early, how a half inch off down low is a foot off up top, and just tearing stuff down. And why, it was just that. And then at the end of this thing, my dad builds a deck. We come back, we go up to the top level, and I've helped him now. I don't put the nails in and ever. He goes, "Okay, go first." I was like, "You crazy? I'm not stepping out here." And he said, "You need to go out here and go first. You built it. Do you not trust what you've done?" And Marissa, he pushed me out the door. My dad don't play. He pushed me out there, and then we had a whole nother. So those kinds of lessons.
Yeah.
are what I'm looking for our stories and things that just have an impact on your life, so we can help other young kings prepare to go be kings.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting because talking about you doing speaker training and coaching and things like that. I always say to the author's corner that if you are a writer, you're also a speaker because you have to get your message out there. And so, and speaking about that, doing the Own It anthology, I had a 8-week training
Mhm.
that I offered the authors, and in the 8-week training, there were 3 questions that were asked, which really defines what you're saying here is the one is I always call them nuggets of wisdom, right?
Right.
What nuggets of wisdom can you give to help people to figure it out and make it simple, right? So the question is, and this is where a lot of men, I've come across along the way, and women too, but focusing here on men is that I don't know. I wasn't taught that. I wasn't aware of that. And so in this speaker training, the 3 top questions was, who are you?
Mhm.
What are you about? And where did you get that from?
Mm.
Just
Mhm.
that simple. Who are you? What do you identify as? What's important to you? What makes you you? What differentiates you from others? So you're not always grouped in. There's a time to be a part of a group, and then there's a time to stand out. And what are your core values? What are the convictions that you have in your heart? Because the framework around how you live and how
Mhm.
you communicate, in order for you to feel justified. In order for you to really secure your identity, you have to understand and know your core values. And that's what I believe that such a project like yours, King Conversations, is so critically important for the men, is so that we can start having some shared knowledge of wisdoms, lessons learned, so that we get to know that there's not, and like you said, keeping it simple. So, what's the timeline for your project?
Because the timeline is a timeline, Marissa, and it's a living, breathing thing. Um, uh, Life happens, and again, success is not measured by one singular event. But the goal is to get this book published. So we're looking at trying to have this out before May 2023.
Okay.
I know we're at the end of the year, being realistic. I know we are meeting next week with authors to start the process and give out the strong deadlines. We're probably looking at to have this in hand, ready to go by April with the launch. May, June. May is my birthday month, and of course,
Okay.
June is Father's Day.
Yeah.
Less than 24 hours with no food buffets like during Mother's Day, but that's another discussion.
Oh,
So yeah, I be going hard on that one.
yeah. I know. You're very good with that.
Yeah, so that's what's the timelines. We're looking at getting, because I know how, again, I speak and I'm not a writer, but I have to. So I understand. And you're asking people who necessarily don't write for a living, who may be interested in doing something new. The
Yeah.
speakers that I train are that speaker. Well, you come off stage, they go, "Oh my God, I've always wanted to speak. I don't know where to start." That's who I tend to work with the most. And I love it, pulling their messages out of them, putting it into an ordered form. And they go, "Did I say that?" And I said, "You've been saying that. I've heard it
Yeah.
several times out of you. Now let's organize it so we can produce it and get it out here, get your message on platform." So that's easy. There's just tips and tricks. If you're not a writer, do what I do. I used to write every article for the magazine we first started. Marie, some of it banging it away, banging it away. That's because I had time,
Hmm.
and now I don't. I record and transcribe it. I send it off, comes back in less than a day. I edit it up and it's done. Still my words, still my writing. I just didn't
Right.
have time to do it. So there's things you can do
Yeah.
to get this project done with your phone and a recorder. And in 5 6 minutes, I'll give you, we're maxing around 1,000 1,200 words. And I speak fast. So in 4 or 5 minutes, I got 1,000 words in, which is probably a
Yeah.
little bit too fast. But
Yeah.
anyway, um, that's what we're looking for. This is not complicated.
It's not. It's not complicated at all. When you relax. My one thing that my mom taught me before she left out of here was, Marissa, relax, because the intensity of the situation lessens when you relax. You're
Mhm.
able to see clearer. Your body relaxes, and so you're able to come up with a strategy and not get stuck. You can see some opportunities. And she said that to me in childbearing. I was in labor. And she said, Marisa, when you relax, the intensity of the pain lessens. And that's what we have to think about when we feel like something new, a new skill that we're going to learn is going to be too much for us. Just chill, relax, and look at the process. Look at how it's getting done, and then figure it out from there. But never, ever, talk yourself out of um,
Mm-mm.
stretching yourself and because you'll look back and say, "Oh my God, I do that with," you may not always feel like that about writing. It's just about. I believe that everything that we do is about our own personal perspective. If you
Mm-hmm.
think of it as hard, it's hard for you. It's not hard. It's not necessarily hard, but it'd be hard for you because as
Mm-hmm.
a man thinketh, so is he. And so I think that if we begin to train ourselves in a different way, to say, "Oh yeah, I can get that done." It may take a challenge, but how many skills have you learned later on in life and said, "Oh my God, I'm actually doing this."
Exactly, exactly. It's just a process. And again, for those who have that thing on their heart and you don't know what to do with it, you've been challenged and charged with doing something with the interactions. You wake up one morning, you go, I spent a lot of time talking to young men about stuff. Marissa, I slipped into 55 and all of a sudden I became the OG in the room. I'm like, where did everybody go? Where was that old sage in the corner? And all of a sudden I became the
You
sage.
are it.
I was like, wait, my coach used to say, listen, there's always one spaz in the room. If you don't see one, it's probably you. That's what he
You
would always say. So I'm like, oh, wow. So all of a sudden, people start coming with questions, and I find myself surrounded by, even at my job, I get these young men come through the door, and where I work is so high profile that you just can't look any old kind of way at my cash wrap. You just cannot, because at any moment, literally, the president can walk through the door and has. The heads of state walk through the door and have. And they look at us, and it's a store run by majority black people, and the director's black, and this and the third, and you up here looking like who did it. No, sir. No, no, no. Let's have a conversation, because what they fail to realize, they're auditioning
Yes.
from their stage because they're servicing people and they're watching it, right? They don't say a word. But all of a sudden you go apply for a job and someone comes back to me and says, what about so-and-so?
Yeah.
Right? Been watching them. Or they start conversation, hey, listen, when you get your clearance together, come see me. It happens
Right.
all the time. And I tell them that. I said, I'm here to help you go next level. However, there's a few things you got to learn to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when they leave, one guy just came back to me. He left, and I had this open door policy. Just be honest with me. I know you're not gonna stay here forever, but just be honest. So he wasn't really forthcoming. And he left, went somewhere, didn't work out. All of a sudden, he called me back. We had to have a conversation. I said, I got issues, and I had some feelings about that. So we
Wow.
dealt with it, and I'm more than welcome to have him come back, because he sounds a whole lot different, and he recognized that training opportunity helped him. So as a king, that's what we're supposed to be doing. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people out there who are doing just like me. I know they're out there, and I want those are the stories I want to be able to share with him. I'm going to give this young man this book and go, here, read this, sir. In his
Yeah.
mid to late 20s. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and a simple read, like you said, because everyone's busy. But I had someone say to me, I had asked them to do a book review for me, and they were like, "Well, I don't read," and it was like, "Oh my God, I would never say that." However, you have to have it simple enough, and we have to take the time to invest in ourselves. If we don't know, then there's literature out there all over. You can Google whatever. There is at this stage no excuse anymore. You've got to find that go-to mentor. Like I have
Yep.
mentors that don't even know they're my mentors, that I just watch their speeches, I just watch their activities outside of the realm of speaking, not just inside speaking, but what have they been doing along the way that are the unseen things
Mm-hmm.
from the regular public. But those are the people that teach me and speak into my spirit. And you said something earlier. There's something in you that has to get out. And I believe that's in all of us unless we allow it to go dormant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were put here on a purpose. Core values are your convictions. They are the very thing that say, oh, this is right with the world. And oh my God, this is so amazing. And then they say, this is what's wrong with the world. And this is not sitting well with me. And what could I do to change it? So this is what writing, This is what speaking, this is what advocacy is all about. This is what is where your voice becomes an instrument and an opportunity, a tool, resource to make an impact on the world. And that starts with your core values. What makes you tick? What ticks you
Mhm.
off? These are the moments in which kings can actually speak to either other kings or upcoming kings, right? The
Right.
princes.
Right.
Um, so that I love this. And so those of you who are going to be chiming in or just chiming in, we are talking about the anthology, the men's anthology, King Conversations. We have the anthologist here, who is the editor-in-chief of Off the Bench magazine, Mark Wiggins. And he is sharing some insight into this project and what he's looking to accomplish with it. And
Yeah.
so it's incredible. This is the conversations that I feel like men are having, but we just don't know they're really having them. And then we don't get a chance to see them really having them, unfortunately, because most of the time when women are involved, it's either from the love relationship, right?
Right.
It's either it's dominated. I talked to you about binging Blind in Love, and that's my daughter. She's always getting me some new series to watch, and so want to be connected. So I was trying to find out, like, okay, get to the point. Who actually ends up getting married to who? But most of the time, we look at our men from the lover's perspective, the wife's perspective, or that's my children's father's perspective.
Hmm.
So we don't really get a chance because those a lot of times are more hostile than cooperative. So we don't get a really chance to see you guys having such conversations that will benefit um, behavioral change. And that's what we really want from these conversations. We want better behavior. We want more peace. We want more health, mental health, emotional health, physical health to come out
Right.
of these conversations. And so share a little bit back because we know these conversations have to be going on. They can't be that absent, correct?
No, no, they go on quite frequently, actually. Sometimes brief, sometimes very at length. I'm sitting here listening to you just talk about it. I'm just bringing back to mind just recent conversations. Um, I'm on the phone last night with one of my line brothers. We don't talk often, and we're engaging in a text discord on something, and his response was so sharp. Bruh, not what I really said. What's wrong with you? And we had a whole conversation about the issue. We talked about it, but I said, that's not it. And we get into a deeper conversation. And now we're going because that's not who I know you to be. And when we take the moment, I did a whole King conversation on this probably, I think it was last month, about men asking the questions, are you okay? There's two parts. I'm going to ask the question, are you okay? And when asked the question, am I okay? I'm going to answer the question honestly.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good. No, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
Listen, you're not. And if nothing more than how you feel at that moment, like I'm tired, I'm just angry, this, that, third, and other, and you go, okay, bet. How can I support? And these conversations happen so quick and intensely, you'll miss them.
Mm-hmm.
You'll absolutely miss them. But when dealing with people who are separating now, and God has a way of sending us through stuff so we can go back and help other people. And that's your passion,
Oh, you better
right?
if you have a giving heart and you have compassion and empathy for other people, you understand the truth and transparency and why that's so critically important to help them because it is to help them get through the process.
Right. You're able to send, no more than you can bear, get you through, and you go back and talk about it. Or you at least can give some insight to something. When you're talking to a divorced man who, after 20 some odd years, is now on his, trying to find his way, and he just blowed, and you got to check on that brother because you know what it's like. You've been there. Or you're talking to someone who lost a parent, and you've been there. And so these things, your kids, I've become now the kid going to college expert. You don't send two kids to college, and here's the conversation. It's not necessarily about them dealing with the kids at college. It's them dealing with nobody home
Yeah, that's true.
and
It's the
adjusting.
empty nest syndrome.
And
Empty
then
nest.
right, empty nest syndrome and finding oneself again or just rediscovering or whatever they're on and the guilt or whatever behind it. Like, I still need to, them patterns are harsh. after 20 plus years of doing something over and over to recognize where we are. So yes, I look at my kings and I had these conversations. And sometimes I need a conversation to
Yeah.
remind me of some stuff, right? When I started the whole process, because what I didn't want to do, you said this just recently about when we are usually on, it's about relationships and whatever. Like that's all we got about us is relationship. What role we supposed to play? Who's the head of what, and who's supposed to do what, and who's paying for lunch? Who's got to always pay for lunch? I'm watching these dudes talk about it, but my friend, rest in peace, Kevin Samuels was on, and he was hot with it. He was hot with it. Everybody was just talking smack, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to come on and lead with relationships because I don't know if I'm ready to talk about it because it's going to get passionate, right? Have an opinion. But what I found to be more important before you have this relationship, bro, there's some stuff you need to fix. There's some stuff you need to deal with, right? There's some issues that you got to work on before we sit down and understand these conversations. And that's where, when the June issue came out, King, Get Your Crown. Everyone talking about, girl, fix your crown, girl, fix your crown. And I said, well, Marissa, there's two people in this kingdom that usually have a crown. And everybody talking about the queen, where the king crown is. Matter of fact, isn't the king supposed to be running stuff? And I was like, let me go help this brother find his crown somewhere first. Where'd you leave
it? Get him back and get him together.
Let's go find it first, and then we'll get you together, and then we'll put it on for you. But unless you recognize you've lost your crown, and by crown, I'm not talking about dominance or running people, whatever. I'm talking about your inner strength, your core, about who you are claiming to be.
Who you are, what you're about, and where you got it from.
We can't answer those questions, right? And so once we get those components together, then we can assume the position and run our kingdom. And your kingdom is wherever you show up, wherever your physical presence is or your presence reach is, that's your kingdom.
Yeah, and you have a lot of women who I know for myself. Most, I'm always thrown in like, oh, you're dominant, you're strong. You don't know, you don't even understand. We are looking for men who know who they are, what they're about, and where they want to go. I know for me, I'm not looking for a man to have all of that together, but someone who is open to, when we come together, let's just work together. Stop trying to hide I don't even want to deal with your little representative, whatever that terminology is. I don't even understand all that. I think in our last conversation, I told you I don't even know how to date because I know how to be a wife. And so what in that kind of level, we are looking for full transparency. Why? We got to get this thing done together. I don't need to know what you have to determine whether I'm going to do anything with you, because I should already know that based on the character that I see standing in front of me, what you really are about, your true heartbeat. I don't really care what you have. Just let me know what you have so I know what we're working with. I'll let you know what I have so you know what we're working with. And let's just figure it out together. I think that there are so many, people, men and women, who are just waiting for true transparency and a place where they can truly be themselves safely and move on with it. We got kingdoms to build, and kingdoms, that visions that God has given to each party is laying dormant because we can't get past the small-minded stuff. And the small-minded stuff is the pettiness. And the worrying about whether you embarrassed, you're not embarrassed. We don't have time for that. We're much older. And so you're right. We got to get healed. And so that we can, and I'm excited about this project because I love you guys. I love you guys. I want to see you guys shine. I want to see you guys healthy. I want to see you guys, how they say, living your best life, whatever that is, living your best life. I want to see that happening because that makes me happy. I get happy where other people are truly, not falsely. I don't like faking it. I like true, authentic happiness, where you can see that the person is happy and free, and content where they are in life without a feeling of lack or failure. That they feel like, listen, I'm good with this right here. This I'm good with. And so these king conversations, and again, as we begin to close this half hour out, it's really about having those conversations. So talk to the audience. those people who may be just chiming in, give them a synopsis of King Conversations, what you're looking for in your authors, and you can basically close us out because I know you could take up 4 minutes.
What you trying to say? First of all, what you're not going to do this morning. Yeah, King Conversations is the thing that we have with one another as men. We talk to one another because I believe since iron sharpens iron, only a king can really help and develop another king in certain areas, and therefore we need to have these conversations. Uh, the concept is simple: um, a topic, a area that you stand on. Say you believe in hard work, right? That's your thing, and you talk about the essence of hard work and what a life lesson that you've learned and how you applied it. Well, someone needs to hear about that. Someone needs to understand the reality that hard work beats talent when talent don't work hard. They really understand it, but they need to hear it from you. So we are looking for men to contribute their life stories, their story points that have changed their lives or moments that have happened to them, their ups and their downs, their highs and lows. I'm not looking for everything to be up here. I need someone to say I was out, down, and out with it, and dot dot dot. Because we're going to put those in the book and make the collection so that when you give it to another young king, here, read this. You run across someone in your path that maybe you don't know how to reach just yet, or you're having conversations with, and you say, you know what, this is something you may want to read. And we're going to pass these, how many ever authors come in, wherever God sees fit to drop in his book, that's how many different messages they're going to get. And they read this book quick and easy, no more than 1,100, 1,200 words, something brief. We can say it. You can say what you need to say in under 1,000 words and be impactful. Trust me. And that's the concept of the book. There's no charge to be in the project. I know you didn't hear me correctly, so I'll say it again. There's no charge to be in this project. I'm a part of an anthology right now. It's costing dollars, but my projection and my intent is different. I'm spending money to market my message for something else. This particular project is for heart. This one is for saving. This one is for a passion call. So for me, come get in the book, because I don't want to hear, oh, I don't got that kind of money. I want to hear that. I want to hear it. I want to hear it. What I do know is that when the project's done, buy the book and give it away.
Yes.
Buy the book and give it away. One of the things we are going to do, Marissa, I'm going to add to this project. I've done it before with my first book, my NTXE, The Formula for Success, my very first book. And what I did was I put it out to people to donate to my foundation, and I was giving books away. I sent out hundreds of books across the country. Send money. So we're going to do the same thing with this project. That gives everyone a chance to participate. Right? Buy the book as author, give it away. Send some money and let me send books away. Let me send them to wherever. Find some youth program. Somebody needs these words, right?
And not just nationally, internationally.
Internationally. Everybody has connects. If you got a connect overseas and need something positive, we're trying to get the book there. That's what this is about. This is the work, and this is the passion. This is the call. So again, no cost to get in, 1,200 words maxish. We're going to be meeting over time and having conversations. And if you really want to get into speaking and talk more about it, we'll have those conversations as well. Because at that moment you become an author, all of a sudden things change for you. People look at you different, right? Nothing nice to leave a legacy for your children. I've got 2 books over here where the kids are in these books that they read before I published. They're like, you think that about me? This is what you see? This is what I see. And they were just floored that they were, that I would write about them. And so, but that means something. So you want to leave a legacy, and the legacy is the best way to put it is to put it in a book, put it online, digital. We're gonna do all kind of stuff with it. There will be forums, there'll be lives. We'll bring people on, and that's what we're looking for. So hit Marissa up, and my email's here somewhere, and let's have a conversation.
Yes. Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is King Conversations, the men's anthology. This is with me, editor-in-chief of Off the Bench magazine, Mark Wiggins, and we are super excited to be in the author's corner. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are out. We want to wish you the best week. We are at the top of the week. Take center stage and own it. And have a prosperous week. We are out, ladies and gentlemen.